Hello everyone, you can hear me well, good. So first of all, introduction, so I am Clifton Flack. I founded CiiTECH about 3 years ago. We're an Israeli medical cannabis company, but we make our money, we make products for the CBD health and wellness market. I met these guys about a year ago, and we began talking about creating a brand, a specific sports brand for high impact sports people like these guys. We called the brand Impact Wellness or Impact Sports for that reason. I think I want to ask a few questions to these guys, and maybe they can, within the realms of compliance as to what you can and cannot say about why you use a product, I think it'd be great to hear from you guys, maybe James first, as to how you got involved in CBD.
Yeah, hi ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for having me here today. I think it's really interesting when you're kind of in the public eye to a certain aspect and the world of social media. Everybody wants to jump on board and get people to endorse products, and CBD oil is now kind of the new thing. It's obviously actually been around for quite a long time, and the benefits are pretty apparent for everyone to see. I think there's still a lot of confusion around. People freak out when they hear the word cannabis. They associate it with all things, especially older generations. They're a little bit confused about how it can be used. Obviously, there's a large element of regulation and compliance that we're talking about. And basically, I was approached by different companies to start endorsing CBD oil, and Ben, who will tell you his kind of story, is someone who's really diligent and dedicated to training and to health and fitness. And we've always looked at different ways of trying to help push ourselves to find alternative routes to be the best we can be in terms of getting the most out of our careers through post-match, through post-training, whatever that might be. And a lot of companies that approached me, and I basically said, listen, I don't want to just endorse a company willy-nilly. I think you have to be very careful, especially in professional sport, associating yourself with good companies, good brands that do exactly what they say on the tin. And Ben actually was the sort of conduit to the relationship with Clifton and CiiTECH. And we were looking around at the market, and I think there are so many brands out there doing stuff with CBD oil that it's very difficult to know who's legitimate, who's not, who's compliant, who's not, who's going to be great for sporting people. And I think with CiiTECH, what they've done with Provacan, which is another section to the company, was create a fantastic product that was trustworthy, that was backed up by research. So Ben and I got talking, and instead of just doing a discount code for our followers, or instead of just messing around, we wanted to actually go in there and create a brand from the ground up, which I'd done in some other areas. But I really thought that, unlike a lot of products out there, unlike a lot of other snake oil that's sold by people, I felt that CBD oil could have a real impact in our lives as rugby players, in my life as someone who trains a lot, and also in my life as somebody who's now going into MMA. And all the benefits are pretty clear for people to see. Some of it's anecdotal. Some of it, listen, if I was talking to you formally and I wasn't wearing an Impact t-shirt, I could be more kind of laissez-faire. But it's important that we're compliant, and everything we do is compliant, because you can't make claims that you shouldn't do. And I think that we've set up Impact, been really excited about the launch. We've had some unbelievable feedback from the products, and I find that it's now an essential part of our training toolkit. And I really believe that it's something that can be really important. And I think that a lot of people turn to supplements over decent nutrition, over decent kind of diet, but actually things like CBD oil are important bolt-ons to your life. And with our product range, we went to our two fundamentals, which were our oils of different strengths, which Ben and I really, really believe in. And then we wanted to come up with some other alternatives that we felt were going to be really beneficial to the things that we had to deal with: contusions, impact, post-training, post-workouts, all those kind of things. And Impact was born, and we're really excited to be here. It's great to see so many different brands, but we've tried to make sure we put ourselves in a different space, which is athletes can trust us. People in the armed forces can trust us. We're not going to, we're not going to over-promise and under-deliver. We're going to do the reverse and make sure that we're really kind of sensible and aware of what we do, because I think the CBD oil world is great, but I think like the supplement world, like the nutrition world, like the food world, the net's going to be tightened on the way people do things, and it's important that we do things the right way.
Great. Perfect timing. I think it's important that we hear from Ben. I first spoke with Ben about a year ago. He reached out and I got on the phone to him. I was blown away with his story. Not just Ben's story, but the whole world of rugby. Rugby is not a big money sport. So hearing Ben talk about his career and both these guys, what they plan to do after their career, it was amazing for me to hear how Ben uses CBD and why he feels it's important to give this back to the rugby world as opposed to using other forms of treatment.
Yeah, I'll do my best to try and say as much as I can about my story, but I probably come across CBD oil almost 3 years ago. I had an injury. Concussions is a big problem in impact sports, so I was dealing with that, and I had a friend who was doing a lot of research with the military, and he told me about CBD oil, and that's how I sort of come across, because I'd never heard of it before. I think in sport things move really quick, and you're always trying to look for things that'll give you an edge, whether it's in performance and recovery, and usually that edge is you're looking for something that, as we talk about 1%ers. So you take a lot of things that are good for you, and in the long run they'll help you, but you might not feel the benefits straight away. And what blew me away about CBD oil is from taking it straight away, I felt the benefits, which was quite unique. So I said from few years ago to now, I've just like anything I do in sport, I try to research, try to know it as best as I can, which has sort of led me to where I am now. I believe CBD can play a big role in sport. Obviously what we do, we have big collisions. A lot of the hardest thing about having a good career is just really how you manage getting from week to week. And from me, just coming across it, I've been playing for 16 years now. I wish I'd found this. I don't know if it was around, but I wish I'd had this from day one, because it's really made a big difference. And I'm 35, going on to 36, and I've felt as good as I have. So that just wants me to spread the word and creating our own business, try to get that through to other people so they can have the same benefits I've enjoyed from it.
Tell me, is there actually a problem in the sports with pain meds, with opiates? Is this an epidemic like there is in America, do you find?
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the sport, just since I've been in it, when I first started, I was 110 kgs. I'm now 120. That's over a 15-year span. So players are bigger, they're faster, there's more games. It all leads to big collisions. No one likes to be in pain. It doesn't matter if you're a professional sportsman or you're a weekend athlete or just going about your day-to-day life. So any way you can find a way around that, way you can help yourself, it's a big thing. But if you look in sports, it's well documented, so that the opioid crisis, as people will call it, but prescription drugs, people medicating themselves, anything that happens in society will also mimic itself in sport.
And do you think it'll be long before the sport itself actually encourages or endorses the use of CBD? Or because we've spoken with Informed Sports, actually when we started the conversation with these guys, actually James was very specific that we had to ensure we get Informed Sport certification. Anybody here know Informed Sport? Hands up if you know Informed Sport. I'll let James fill you in a little bit more, but this was very important for us. It's not just about creating a good product and a good formulation that works. It's not just about the compliance in the CBD industry, about not making claims, but more about this is such a sensitive industry in the sports world with prohibited substances, that this was a major issue for James.
Yeah, I think, look, just going back to what Ben was saying as well, obviously around the use of anti-inflammatories and everything else, when you're in a performance-based environment where you're having to peak every single week, there's no way that you're going to be able to play a game and then go through without knocks and bruises. It's a contact sport. I'm a big believer, especially since I've retired, that I've been quite vocal that, we need to look at our training load. We need to look at how rugby players are treated. It's not the games that everybody needs to worry about. It's the training. It's the demands on the body. I think we overtrain. And I know Ben believes that it can often be the case, and people look for alternatives, and I think that was really important. Smashing a load of anti-inflammatories every now and then, is just not going to be good in the long term. There's plenty of studies, plenty of information about what these things can do to your body. So trying to find alternatives is what a lot of players do, and I'll give you an example. Ben was pretty, he's been pretty ruthless in terms of his career, making sure that he's, like myself, sought out the best physios, the best nutritionists, the best trainers, constantly looking to develop. And when we started turning up at Northampton, and Ben was talking about CBD oil, I straight away, my ears pricked up. I was like, oh, what's this? My wife had talked a little bit about it. I didn't realise it had become a more mainstream option. So I started taking it. And you can tell that as soon as there was a lot of boys around the changing room who were in a lot of pain, a lot of the time, wanting to find alternatives. And it was very interesting how it picked up. And now, but there is always the concern, and why I'm going to come on to Clifton's questions about, will you fail a drugs test? Will you be able to do that? Because, the last thing you want to do is get yourself into a situation where you need to find trusted products. And that's my big concern with, the CBD oil business. It's a bit like the Wild West. There's a lot of people making claims, there's a lot of people saying things, and you need that accountability. And especially if you're in the armed services, the police force, or professional sport, you need that accountability. And there's a governing body, well, not a governing body, there's a company called Informed Sport, which tests supplements. So, what I discovered when I used to own a supplement business is that the common consumer does not care about what's in their supplements. They say they do, but they don't. You'll see these absolute meatheads taking things called mutant, explode, blow up, whatever it is, things you don't think are a good idea to put in your body, but they do. They're not tested. The regulations around supplementation is you don't have to list all the things that are in there. You have to, if you imagine there's a supplement, right, and you've got there's about 5 or 6 factories in the UK that make supplements, right? They've got to be, some of these illegal supplements have got to be made somewhere. So if you imagine that you made a run of blow up or whatever you want to call it, right? And then they clean the machines and then they run something very nice through that, just a whey protein. If those machines aren't cleaned, the risks of contamination are massive. So hence with the Informed Sport thing, it's something that you buy into. And you basically, the factory has to buy into it, the company has to buy into it, you have to pay a lot of money to get that batch certificate. Now, with our products, we have batch testing in terms of the amount of CBD oil, amount of THC in there. And obviously, as you know, it's illegal in the UK to claim that you've got 0.000 THC because you can't actually have that because it's made from something that's you're not actually allowed to do in the UK at this stage. So we're very honest and open about that stuff. But it's actually, we went to Informed Sport and we wanted to get them to test it, and they won't touch it. They won't touch CBD oil at the moment. Considering majority of players, I would say, are taking it or looking into taking it, they won't test it. It was the same with fish oils. Years ago, fish oils, they couldn't find a way of testing it. Because oil-based products are quite hard to test, but they found a way and they did that. And actually, with this, with CBD oil, there's a way of doing it, but there isn't the appetite to do it. They don't want to do it. They're panicked about, being associated with cannabis. Again, it's old school thinking, it's stupidity, it's something that we're really pushing, because what we want to do is have our products with Informed Sport testing, so you can fully guarantee. When we announced that Ben and I were doing this, first thing we got contacted with, what's the THC? What's the THC? We've got batch certificates for every single one we've made. Everything we do is fully qualified. We put an email address and people can contact us. There's a lot of companies out there aren't doing that. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we can actually ignore some of this background noise, look people in the face and be like, look, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, because we want both peace of mind, because you need to know what you're taking, and people don't consider that. And maybe, when you go home and you take your protein supplements, you go to your shop and you take your fat burners, and you take your CBD oil, maybe you'll, think twice about perhaps, is what I'm taking what it says on the tin? Because, you'd be quite upset if you bought a can of baked beans and there was a thumb in it. It's the same way as if you took a load of supplements, you don't want to be taking away protein and find out you've got a pile of testosterone in there. And it's what's really important about us, and why, a lot of the money that CiiTECH has made, they reinvest into research. We're linked to universities. A lot of the research, if you actually look into CBD, is done in Israel and around that area, and it's really important. And Clifton can indulge in that a bit more, but that's something we really believe in.
Look, it's for us as a company. If you haven't heard of CiiTECH, we're based in Israel, and as James said, we are constantly reinvesting profits and revenues back into research. We've funded 2 clinical studies already, one for CBD for asthma and one for CBD for fatty liver disease. Now, we know that no matter the success or the amazing results we get from those studies, we cannot use that data to sell our product. It's interesting, it's amazing, and it helps us work with guys like this and work with the consumers for them to trust our products. And this is really what it comes down to. Same as James said, he could have gone out and endorsed any brand, but he wanted to find a company and good partners to work with. And it was the same for us. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're producing brands, consumer brands, that consumers choose to buy. And we could have looked for any celebrity endorsements. But for us, it's much more important to find people like James and Ben who are smart people, who care more about just earning some revenue off a coupon code. But these guys really want to get involved and ensure that the products that we're producing, they hold us to account. They hold us to account more than I think anybody else holds us to account. Because they're bloody big and they're scary. But the intelligence behind their logic is not just the making money. And it's not just that this is a good product, but it was the giving back to the sport. As I said before, I know, and it blew my mind how little money there is in rugby. It's this massive sport. There's compared to football or basketball or American football, there's no money. And I know these guys who I spoke with Ben, and I know Ben told me that one of his ambitions, he wants to coach. He wants to coach and give back to the sport to help bring the young talent through. But the single biggest challenge for that is that coaches don't get long-term employment contracts. That's right. So you could be the best coach in rugby and coaching the best team, winning the premiership, winning everything, and be fired the next day. And that's a fundamental problem in the sport. So again, working with these guys, to understand, from them as sports people as to what they might have been forced to use in the prescription medication in the past, but now what they have open to them, and knowing the good that is, or the avoiding of the bad of prescription medication, for us to produce something that we can confidently, like James said, we can stand up in front of people and confidently say that we know this works, and we know it's safe, and we put our names behind it. And I want to ask Ben a little bit about his coaching ambitions and how we can help, maybe as a company, as a group, bring CBD into the sports, as a go-to supplement, and not something that people find bad after. I think certainly I feel that all sports people, this should be a standard, your multivitamin and your CBD. I think it should be a starting point.
On the coaching point, rugby's been my passion as long as I can remember, since a 6-year-old. So, and my career's coming to an end, so I find it hard to think there'll be a time where I'm not involved in rugby. So that's why I have the ambitions to coach. But like Clifton said, I think, and same as being a player, if it's very much a high risk, high reward. There's not much risk security in it. So then I try to pick things outside of my rugby side of my career that I'm also passionate about, and I sort of got passionate about CBD. Like I said earlier, a few years ago, when I seen the benefits I was having to myself. In terms of sport, I don't think CBD's going through anything different to, like James said, even when a multivitamin comes in or a fish oil comes in, a pre-workout comes in, it's just a slow process to get acceptance, because in an industry, like I said, that moves so quick. There's a lot of products that's been thrown out, so it will take a long time before team doctors, our sports scientists will fully embrace it. They'll need to see law changes. They'll want to see all the studies before. So it is a slow-moving process. I don't think CBD has been pulled out, but I'll be interested to see in 5 years' time. It wouldn't surprise me if the CBD is something that's just a mainstream that you take, we take our multivitamins, our fish oils, our vitamin C's. That's a standard for a player now, and if I crystal balled it, I think CBD will have a part to play in a few years' time.
Great. in a few minutes, we will open to questions. I'm sure you've all got lots of questions for these guys. But before I forget, after this talk, if you come to our booth, CiiTECH booth J73, I think. Yeah, J73. These guys will be there, and they'll be signing some merchandise. We've got some Impact shirts. We've got some stress relief rugby balls. These guys will come and sign and maybe take some selfies. If anybody wants to stand on a chair to be at the right head height for these guys, we have that as well. So get ready with your questions. I've got one last question for James. Something I didn't know, it came as a surprise to me when you announced your entry into the world of MMA. To me, like, you know, this guy, both these guys, this sport, they spend their life really having the
beaten out of them. Yeah.
Having that beaten out of them. And then the guy retires, and I'm thinking, okay, so he's going to retire, do some business, and sit on the beach. You know, he's got a lovely wife, why not? And then he announces he's into MMA. Tell us a bit about MMA and how that might impact on our impact
range.
You can
tell how little time I want to spend with my wife. I'm ready to go into a cage to get beaten up. No, I'm only joking.
That's marriage,
She'll kill
isn't
me. She'll kill me. She'll kill me. She says, why are you always talking about me? But I'm like, I'm not, babe. It's just a joke. I think, look, it's an interesting one as well. You know, I never do anything that I don't believe in or want to enjoy. And, you know, I've got an all right social media profile. You know, we do different things, and companies all the time come and contact me and about endorsing stuff, weird and wonderful things, and I turn 99% of it down because if I don't use it in my life, I wouldn't recommend it. You're not going to see me, you know, advertising those six-pack ab devices because they don't work. Everyone's got a price. I mean, apparently they pay Cristiano Ronaldo £4 million for a day's filming. I'll take £4 million and recommend a six-pack ab thing without any conscience. So when the CBD came, you know, Ben and I use it and we believe in it. And with the MMA stuff, it was something that I wanted to try because it was a different journey than I've been on. I've gone from an individual, a team sport to being an individual sportsman. I don't think I'm particularly tough. I don't think I'm particularly hard. I've been a big guy for a long time. People think that because you're a big guy that you can fight. You become very aware that makes absolutely no difference. And there are plenty small, wiry people with unbelievable technique who'd fold me up like a travel map. And you know, I decided that I wanted to embark on something. I think it opened a whole new audience. I think skeptically, from a business perspective, it meant that I do a lot of corporate speaking. I enjoy talking, as you would have guessed today. And I think it opens up a whole new avenue of what's it like to be an individual sportsman. What's it like to test yourself? You know, what's it like to go into that octagon and you know, fight someone? You know, rugby players are seen as very tough. You know, people always go, oh, you know, rugby's like NFL without the pads, not realising that, you know, they are completely different sports and the requirements are completely different. So I wanted to train, I wanted to stay fit. You know, my life at the moment is extremely busy between speaking, DJing, working with companies, you know, doing stuff with impact. And I think having a balance and a bit of grounding in MMA is key. And, you know, I can tell you now, CBD is going to play a massive part in my journey, dealing with all the things that you know, MMA throws at you. And listen, if it goes well, brilliantly. If I get filled in, the only disappointment thing is that we live in a world of social media now, and every Muppet will come running up to me and go, bah, or they'll send me video footage of it, like they have done when I ran into that post. So you just got to deal with that, you know, those bits and pieces.
Great stuff. Are there any questions?
Don't be shy, you can ask anything you want. Anyone want to know anything?
No questions?
England are going to win the World Cup, if that's what anyone wants to know.
Are England going to win the World Cup?
Yeah, they are, yeah. Which is interesting because I'm not very good at being happy for other people. He's definitely not happy for anyone. And you know, it's going to be hard because I'm going to be, you know, as pleased and as jealous in equal measure when they do that. So I'm excited to get that.
Are you out there for the games?
Yeah. So I've landed on my feet. This is unbelievable. I mean, normally, if you threw me out of a window, I'd land on my head. But this one, like a cat, I've landed on my feet. A six-star hotel has invited me and my wife to the Maldives to commentate on some of the World Cup games for the hotel guests. So it's going to be very hard. I will get through all that champagne. It's going to be tough. Spending a lot of time in the hot tub. It's going to be difficult. You know, swimming with dolphins. Someone's got to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
and the commentating will be at some point.
At some point. So I'm doing it for 5 games for them in kind of the 2 weeks. And listen, most people who go to the Maldives are going to be honeymooners. I mean, I don't want to have to destroy any relationships because the husbands want to come and watch a rugby game while the wives, want to spend a bit of time. So it could be interesting. My wife reckons that it's only going to be me and her. She's going to be at the back sipping pina coladas and abusing me, just saying, like, you don't know anything about rugby, you're crap, etc. So we got that. Then I got back here for a week, and then I'm going to Japan to work with my podcast, House of Rugby, which will be amazing. I lived in Japan, so I'm excited to go out there, and obviously, we're working with Impact in the meantime, trying to get the product in as many people's hands as we can do. Actually, weirdly enough, the head of England conditioning actually ordered some of the product before we came out, and he's been messaging me as if I'd known when it was going to be delivered. I'm like, lads, I'm involved in the company, but I'm not actually physically packing the boxes and sending them. So
that's next week.
That's next week. Yeah, as I'm unemployed, if the fighting doesn't go well, perhaps I'll be in the factory. Anyone else got anything for Ben or for me?
Hi, obviously the CBD was taken off the banned substance list for professional sports people, and I know you mentioned about the military before and the police. So how does that affect as far as a CBD isolate or a CBD full spectrum? Because obviously they're different products, and is there any limits on the trace elements of THC, or is it simply a case of it's just CBD isolate that professional sports people can use?
So there's a bit of a confusion over that, because you're right, the World Doping Agency 2 years ago took CBD off their prohibited list. Although the confusion with that is that it would make you think that CBD isolate can then be used by sports people. It can't, because there's the European Novel Food Catalogue that says isolate cannot be used in food supplements. So take from that what you will. What we take from it is that CBD is fine, and there's other laws that impact, because look, we sell CBD oil. We're all selling CBD oil. We call it CBD oil, but it's not. It's cannabis oil. There's a whole bunch of other cannabinoids and terpenoids and flavonoids and carrier oils and vitamins and there's many things in there. We call it CBD because that's what we understand it to be. So the World Doping Authority or agency, they took it off the list. That means it's good for these guys to use, but we can't use it in the form that they've described it as. We can only use it in this full spectrum form that then has other directives and compliance issues.
Anybody else? One more quick question.
Am I right in thinking as well, when just for my own peace of mind, is that when they talk about 0% THC, the only way to actually get that is from the isolate, which you're not allowed to.
The only way to guarantee zero THC is isolate. There are people talk about broad spectrum, like 90x% before. But there still can be 0.000001, which means it's not zero.
No.
It won't come up in the drugs test. It can't be seen by regular lab tests, but it's there.
That's why we talked about some of the compliance stuff we're talking about, is when people are claiming it's 0%, knowing that you can only guarantee that from the isolate. Again, is something that we as a company have been really aware of, because a lot of stuff that Ben and I have had from the benefits is what you would class as anecdotal. I could sit here and we could tell you everything we found out about what, a lot of supplements you take a whey protein, you don't notice anything. Take a fish oil, you don't notice anything, except maybe you might burp up fish oil later on. You don't, but actually with the product, the impact, we notice the benefit. But you have to be so careful about what you can and can't say, and we really want to make sure that when they do tighten it up, that we're ahead of the game, and there are things that we don't point fingers, but walking around saying certain things, knowing full well that they can't possibly be there. It's really important that we, as a company, especially to our followers and social media, present the correct information, because there is so much, and we now live in a world of fake news, so it's very difficult to find out what the truth is. So that's why we particularly wanted to team up with CiiTECH, so we knew exactly what we're getting. And Clifton's a CBD oil expert.
Try to be.
Yeah.
Hi, just following on from what you're saying, I compete in professional sport, and a female athlete in my sport, she got banned for 6 months last week, which unfortunately has made her retire from the sport, and it was because she was found with she was using a CBD cream, and it was found with the over-the-limit THC in the products she was using. I guess I'm looking for a brand to partner with myself, but I've obviously got to be very careful with what we do, and exactly what you're talking about there. So could you give me some guarantees, I guess, with the product that you're selling?
Well, apart from what we've already said, and we could talk to you after this about the lengths we go to test our products, you'll know yourself as an athlete you just got to be so careful with all products, because you can take, like James said about the manufacturing processes, you know, just because say a manufacturer does a fish oil, it doesn't mean they only do fish oil. So there is contamination, which is a big problem in sports, and it's unfortunate that your friend has tested positive. But I think if you were to Google athletes testing positive for substances, a lot of them will come back to contamination. So I know for myself, the road I went down with CBD oil is that it wasn't just the CBD oil I had to look at. I had to look at the process they were going to get there, just so I had peace of mind, because as good as I know CBD oil is for me, it still wouldn't be worth me losing my job from a failed test. So it's a tough one too, because you know, there's so many different companies selling different products. You just got to do your research and make sure you're peace of mind in yourself that what you're taking isn't going to lead to a positive test.
Well, just with, I mean, obviously you can talk to Clifton afterwards and stuff, but you know, one thing we said is that every time, you know, we create a batch of oil, it's tested, so we know exactly what the thresholds are. And as you've said, you know, you can't have 0% THC because it's from isolate, but you can have such a negligible amount that it would never be picked up in testing. You know, I think, you know, depending on what product, I don't want to throw, I don't know anything about it. You know, we when we first started, it was something that I hounded Clifton about, something we're on about all the time, because we want to get that Informed Sport logo. You know, we want to do that because, you know, we want to cover off all the other things, potentials, you know. But it's interesting that, you know, there was a snowboarder who failed for THC, and you've got to have a little raise of eyebrows going, hold on a minute. You know, it doesn't be on the realms of possibility to go, you know, they were smoking a bit of weed and then suddenly turning around going, oh no, I took the CBD oil product that had too much THC. I'm not saying you're for it, but do you know what I mean? There's a few stories and stuff, but if you look at it, it's rare, you know, it is quite rare, but a lot of my followers, a lot of people message me direct, and we've got an email that we can provide batch certificates, tell you what in each batch is and the amount and everything else like that, and what's negligible, but we give you those kind of guarantees in that aspect. But like any supplementation, there is always, you know, there's always an element of risk in there.
And just to finish on that, like putting my money where my mouth is, hand on heart, I've never gone to another rugby player and said our products are 0 THC. I've always said, I've told them the benefits that I've had. All of our products are lab tested, and we can show you exactly what's in the bottle, but there is still an element of THC in there. So because the thing that I would hate to have as a company, I know James is the same, there's someone tested positive for something that we didn't have on, because as professionals ourselves, I couldn't think of anything worse than getting that phone call saying, you know, when you've put so much hard work off the field, to be labelled, you know, a cheat. Yeah, so I feel very confident in what we say in our products.
Okay, thank you very much to James Haskell and Ben Franks. Thank you for coming to listen. And they'll be on the booth, J73, which is down that way. They'll be signing, taking pictures, and we can talk to you about the products and the range. And thank you for your time.